I Hate the News is the weekly news bulletin from I Hate Politics podcast, a show about a human activity we love to hate. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. It's March 11th, 2025. A second case of measles in Maryland is reported in Howard County, and Democrats hold a rally at the National Institutes of Health in neighboring Montgomery. Montgomery County State's attorney reassures the public that the actual state of immigration enforcement is limited in Maryland. The White House Office of Personnel Management revises its direction on firing probationary federal employees, revealing gaps in how the Trump administration will manage personnel policy. The first school and community farm on MCPS property at Loideman Middle School in Aspen Hill reopens for its second growing season. Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy looks set to win the Democratic primary for county executive, and Shayla Adams Stafford prevails in Council District 5. And more. Stay with us.
I Hate Politics is brought to you by UMBC's Political Science Program. If your goal is to make a meaningful impact with a career in local, state, or federal government, discover what this degree can do for you. Learn more at shadygrove.umbc.edu.
I Hate Politics is a podcast about our neighborhoods, workplaces, schools and streets, and our local governments as they function in diverse and democratic societies. This means our politics are messy, dirty, sometimes corrupt, with often self-serving politicians. But no matter how much we may hate politics, we are never exempt from it, even when we refuse to participate. In fact, the purpose of politics is to keep society moving precisely when we don't agree with each other, like now. Music for this episode comes from Washington, D.C. area composer Anna Rubin, who used to teach music at UMBC. She has composed music across several genres, including orchestral, choral, electronica, and stage and video, including this piece, Second Nature, which was commissioned by the Baltimore Dance Project and choreographed by Doug Hamby. You can find her work at annarubinmusic.com. About 4 weeks after the first new case of measles was reported in Montgomery County, Maryland, a second case has been reported in Howard County. State health officials have not released personal information, but the second patient was treated at a pediatric facility. Worth noting that pediatric doctors continue to treat individuals even after they cross 18 years of age. Unlike the several measles cases reported in Texas and southwestern United States, where the infection is spreading locally, both Maryland cases appear to be connected to foreign travel. State health officials identified Washington Dulles Airport as an exposure location, as well as the clinics the patients visited. Maryland reports 1 or 2 cases of measles annually, mostly related to foreign travel and lack of vaccinations. The measles vaccine is part of a cluster called the MMR vaccines and administered to children between 6 months of age and around a year. All Maryland school districts and around the country require MMR vaccines for students to attend. Scrutiny of vaccine taking and infectious disease spread has grown recently because of the views of the new health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who questions the medical consensus on both the benefits and the downsides of vaccines. Outside the doors of the National Institutes of Health in Montgomery County, local Democrats gathered to protest the Trump administration. Here is local Congressmember Jamie Raskin speaking at the protest.
Well, look, if you can't stop COVID with bleach or hydroxychloroquine, and you can't solve climate change by banning the words climate change, and you can't address autism with right-wing conspiracy theories, my question for you is this: are you going to lie down and let the know-nothings and the autocrats and the kleptocrats and the plutocrats and the theocrats roll all over you?
Hands up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back!
saved my life. They came in, they treated me, and I'm here today because of NIH. And everybody behind me, are they going to die if it's defunded? We need NIH.
Hi. 17 years ago, I had a stem cell transplant at NIH because the first round of chemo did not work from another source, and I almost died. And with the stem cell transplant, it lasted, it took me about a year.
Both survived breast cancer thanks to the life-saving research at NIH. For our daughters, for all of our daughters, we need this life-saving research to continue.
NIH gave my son Ethan an extra year of life. He passed away this week and donated his body to the research because he so believed. So we're here to honor his memory and continue the fight for rare disease research.
I'm currently part of an NIH study that's ongoing, hopefully. Not really sure what's happening with that. I'm supposed to go for an appointment next month. So yeah, I don't know. But this is it's a really unique study for rare disease, and I mean, I'm stunned at the selfishness of people sometimes. And
Thanks to Ellen Shaw and Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee member Sarah Brand-Wheater for sharing their audio footage. You can find Sarah Brand-Wheater at Sarah BW on Blue Sky. Judicial opposition to Trump policies on firing probationary federal employees has led the White House Office of Personnel Management, OPM, to revise old guidance on these dismissals. OPM's direction following President Trump assuming office January 20th was for many federal agencies to fire their probationers since these dismissals were easiest to execute. Probationers do not enjoy full employment protections until they become permanent. On February 27th, U.S. District Court judge in Northern California, William Alsup, called the firings illegal, saying OPM had no right to order the dismissals in other federal agencies. So last week, OPM amended its guidance, adding, "Please note that by this memorandum, OPM is not directing agencies to take specific performance-based actions regarding probationary employees. Agencies have ultimate decision-making authority over and responsibility for such personnel actions." This language opens political and legal space between the White House and federal agencies, and the tension came out into the open in a widely reported cabinet meeting where President Trump pulled the reins on Elon Musk's DOGE efforts and specifically told agency heads that they had control over their own personnel. For a couple of weeks now, Musk's team appears to have moved away from trying to cut personnel to examining government payouts on contracts, but also on things like Social Security checks. The shift in DOGE's focus gives federal employees in the Washington, D.C. some relief, though high-profile Trump acolytes in the Justice Department, FBI, Defense, and Health and Human Services keep personnel cuts in their crosshairs still. In Montgomery County, longtime state's attorney John McCarthy, the elected county DA for those who don't know the Maryland system, sought to reassure the public that at least in Maryland, federal immigration enforcement remains limited. He was speaking at a breakfast meeting of the District 18 Democratic Club on Monday and announced that he would be seeking re-election. The clanking of plates in the background made for poor audio quality, but it is Parkway Deli in Silver Spring, famous for their pickle bar.
I have met personally the man who heads ICE, and he was the head of ICE under Biden, and he's the head of ICE now. His name is Matt Ellison. All right, I've met with him along with representatives from the county executive's office. There are two targeted areas that they are working in the area of immigration on in Maryland. One is violent offenders, violent criminal offenders, particularly gang members. And I will tell you, I don't know what the statistic would be in this office, but I mean in this room. But if you look at polling in Maryland, 72% of Marylanders are in favor. as a whole, 72% are in favor of working with ICE, particularly on violent offenders. And they're also looking at targeting. And as a matter of fact, Maryland is number one in the country in terms of targeting and rescuing women who had been imported into the United States, who have been forced to engage in human trafficking. We have been talking to ICE about is we are really trying to rescue those women. And those women who we're going after with ICE and in cooperation with them, we are granting them U visas, which will give them protection so that they would not have to leave the United States and go back. There is some coordinated work going on with them. Two areas. One, violent crime, gang crimes, and then in the area of human trafficking. We've not had sweeps into schools or churches in Maryland. That's not. We've had discussions with them, and they promised that that was not going to be the tactic they were going to use here. Try to look at what the numbers are and what the capacities are. And I know things can change. Matt, who runs ICE, how many people does he have to put boots on the ground to go out to arrest individuals? The answer is 13.
For the whole state?
The whole state. They've got 13 people. You know, I mean, anytime that someone is arrested, it's a tactical maneuver where 3 or 4 people have to be involved. You can do a couple a day. And I even asked them, is it going to change? Are the numbers going to change? Because they can't. They don't have the resources to really make them change. Casa de Maryland says 300,000 individuals live in the state of Maryland, in Maryland that are not properly documented. If you are arrested by the feds on an immigration matter, where are you taken? Well, there's 2 detention facilities in the state of Maryland where somebody who was undocumented could be taken. One is in Howard County. It holds 400 maximum capacity, 474 people. There's a second place. It's in Frederick. It's 154 people. That's the max capacity. Interesting enough, how many individuals were deported from the United States by ICE in January? We only had one full month. It was 37,669. 37,669. How many were deported on average the last 12 months that Biden was president? 57,000. In terms of actual deportation, the numbers nationally are down.
In a unique experiment, Montgomery County Public Schools has started a school and community farm pilot project at Loideman Middle School in Aspen Hill with Silver Spring's longtime Charles Coiner Farm and Conservancy. Kate Medina, who heads Charles Coiner Conservancy, explains the project.
We got a lot done, actually, over the course of this past almost a year. And we started rolling them out slowly in September of 2024 with our internships program. That was the first program that we launched there at Loideman. We had 5 interns who worked with us for 12 weeks in the fall of 2024. Then things were a little quiet over the winter. We're not set up for year-round growing just yet, but we intend to get there. And so now our spring programs for 2025 started on March 3rd. We have internships. We grew over 400 pounds, a lot of greens, some turnips, tomatillos. Since tomatillos are a little more drought resistant than other tomatoes from this area, we thought that would be a good choice since we did not have a reliable source of water yet last year.
Is this the first of its kind in MCPS, or are there similar programs elsewhere? I know there are agriculture programs in Damascus and Sherwood, but is this the kind of urban farm concept new?
This movement to get kids involved in local food production, I mean, that has been going on for a long time, from school gardens and, as you say, these other agricultural programs. Yet at the same time, the bottom has dropped out from inspiring and educating kids to go into fields and agriculture. We created a curriculum for our field trips and internships program focused on urban agriculture, urban growing specifically. We are piloting that curriculum this spring and then publishing that hopefully in the summer so that it can be shared more widely. But yes, It is the first urban farm for Montgomery County Public Schools that is being operated by a partner, an urban farming partner, which is the Charles Corner Conservancy.
Now, it is a 1 acre farm, but it isn't exactly a rectangle. And Loideman sits on a hill. So describe the farm.
Yeah, the first time that we walked the site, it's really spread out. And you really had to use your imagination to understand what the visionary for this project, who is Mr. Harris Trobman, who is the live infrastructure manager for MCPS, what he was envisioning. The farm is spread out over 3 plots, the smallest being the welcome plot. That is mostly just drought-resistant crops, a lot of herbs there. It's where we have all of our information about what is happening on this site. Then we have the teaching plot. We don't care how much food we produce on that plot. That is intended, as it is named, for teaching, getting the kids' hands in the soil. And then finally, there's the production plot. And this is for students who are really passionate about urban farming and really want to do not only their internship, but hopefully in the future, an apprenticeship program. And we do care how much food we're producing. That plot is almost 1 acre.
I've done episodes on existing ag programs in MCPS, but particularly in Damascus and Sherwood. And those programs are not doing well. There are few students. I mean, I think the Sherwood program is in the chopping block right now. Do you think the Loideman Farm offers a way to fill that gap?
We all can see that the sole proprietorship family farm model is not really working and that it's hard on a few individuals. We strongly believe that the more people we can get involved in farming, the better it is for agriculture across the board. I really think that cooperative farms and nonprofit farms, where you have more opportunities for diverse skill sets and diverse careers still around food production, is interesting to students. And so it's not just about this is how you grow food. It's about this is how you give back to your community. And I think that appeals to kids.
Since you are in location at Loideman, do Loideman students get steady access that, other K-8 students probably are just visiting on field trips? For
2025, we are operating those through Excel Beyond the Bell, EBB, which is a program of the Department of Rec. And so our field trips will be in the afternoon, after school hours. And it's through Loideman EBB. So any Loideman students who are participating in the Excel Beyond the Bell program will have the opportunity to come in the afternoons to their school farm. We also partner with the Department of Rec for our internships program. That is run through the Department of Rec's TeenWorks program. And that's how you can sign up for our internships. Of course, if you reach out to the Charles Corner Conservancy directly and inquire about internships, we can quickly navigate you to how to sign up. There are 4 schools within walking distance, as in 2 of the schools are right there at the site of the Loideman Farm. And then 2 other schools, Wheaton High School and Thomas Edison Tech, are just a few blocks away. Those are the schools that are directly within the hub. However, we have created a system where we're trying to serve residents, not just students, but residents in the community within a 2-mile radius. Even the community outside of MCPS that live in this neighborhood are very much a part of the people that we are trying to serve. Starting, I think, May 21st, that will be our first farmers market. The farmers market will include, of course, food that has been grown on site at the Loideman Farm, but we'll also buy in food from other local farms. And then also have vendors, our local artisans, local maybe cottage food businesses or other small food businesses that we can highlight at the farmers market. We have a program called our Community Liaisons Program, in which we host 4 meetings a year with our liaisons, and they are the ones who speak on behalf of they represent their pocket of the community. And they make decisions on what type of food we should grow to ensure that we're growing culturally appropriate food. They help us decide on the growing methods. And then finally, they help connect us to the vendors that I mentioned for the farmers market.
One of the problems that MCPS traditionally has had is this balance between making sure that their facilities are secure and that they still have community engagement. In the last several years, we've gone in the direction much more of security than about community engagement. How are you balancing those two?
While this is a community space and we are open to the community, we can only manage it that we're open to the community when programs are going on. So that is after school hours and then a little bit on the weekends as well. That said, one thing that is important to us is line of sight and other elements that the community can come in contact with. So although we need to have, maybe our tools and our garden beds within the fence, along the fence line will be lavender and sage and other herbs that are available for the public to come and pick and smell and enjoy. In addition, the production farm is planned to be also an agrovoltaic demonstration area. A lot of the solar panels will go inside of the fence, but they will bleed a little bit over this meadow. And the meadow will just have flowers where the community can come and as they need, enjoy the flowers, pick a few if they need them for their table, and we'll see how that works.
Do you have cameras?
We did just get a grant from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Green Space Equity Program. And within that grant, we put in for security measures along the pathway, lighting, a call station, and possibly cameras. There are elements that we can put in so that the site is more secure. But one of the greatest security measures is just having people there in a community aspect where we know each other, where you know your neighbors. And that's really the community that we're trying to build.
Almost every school that I know has a courtyard, has space where they can do this. Given that, how replicable do you think your program is elsewhere?
Truthfully, if I have to be completely honest, we feel a lot of pressure to make sure that this is a success. The farm at Lordeman, it is a pilot, and we want this to be replicated at other schools. Between the Charles Corner Conservancy and MCPS, we've raised $1.1 million for this project. And much of that is going towards what we call the resilience elements. So there will also be solar on every surface that we can possibly get it on, because not only is this a farm, it's also a resilience hub. I think this will be the second resilience hub in Montgomery County, which will activate in the event of a climate disaster. They'll also have public charging stations and gathering spaces.
Kate Medina, thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Sunil. This has been awesome.
Prince George's County just held primary elections after a bit of leadership musical chairs. Following the election of County Executive Angela Alsobrooks to the U.S. Senate, there was a big open race for that position. Meanwhile, County Council President Jolene Ivey moved from being a District 5 representative to at-large to avoid coming up against the county's term limit statute. The at-large seat opened following the arrest of Councilmember Mel Franklin on federal corruption charges last year. Once Ivey took the at-large seat, her old district, District 5, came open. For the county executive seat, current Prince George's State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy seems like she will easily win the Democratic primary with 46% of the votes as of March 10th. Braveboy's closest competitor with less than 20% of the votes was former county executive Russian Baker. The District 5 seat went to current Prince George's County Board of Education member Shayla Adams Stafford. Since Prince George's County is an overwhelmingly Democratic jurisdiction, both Braveboy and Stafford are expected to win the general elections scheduled for June 3rd, 2025. That's all for this episode. Be sure to check out our feature interview series that comes out Friday mornings. I Hate Politics is produced by me, Sunil Dasgupta, with support from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I direct UMBC's political science program at the universities at Shady Grove in Montgomery County, where, among other things, we explore and learn about politics, government, and society close to home. Music for this episode comes from Washington, D.C. area composer Anna Rubin, who used to teach music at UMBC. The piece from which we have excerpted music for this episode is called Second Nature and was commissioned by the Baltimore Dance Project. You can find her work at annarubinmusic.com. If you want to share your music on this show or know someone else who might want to, please email us at producer@ihppod.org. I hope you'll subscribe and share the podcast as we bring you stories about politics close to you and to your home. See you next time.